When I was in rehab for the shoulder, coming out of it, I said I have to do something. And I turned to peptides. The way I looked at it at the beginning is I need to try something different, and this will probably a jump starter. But I was very afraid of it. The minute every injection was like, the day I don't do it, what's gonna happen? You know? And as you said before, I'm not willing to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna do this for the rest of my life. So I had recognized that things had changed, right? So that's why I went to the peptide, and that.
If I had to come off of Ozempic and not gain the weight back, this is exactly what I would do. So I've helped thousands of clients, and to get lean and stay lean, more importantly, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and I've done this with Dawn, Trish, Sandra, my own mom. And I have the exact system that gets you never to need the shot, but also with you needing to come off of it without the weight screaming back. And I've done this with many of my clients, and now more recently, Sergio, the man that you're about to meet. But don't get me wrong, what I'm about to share with you is simple, but it is not easy. And here's what most people get wrong about this GLP-1. They think it's a quick fix, they think it's a sprint, but it wasn't. Actually, most people, 2/3, have the weight coming back on, if not more. And what I'm going to show you is how to fix your engine and how to keep your newfound body. Sergio, a 46-year-old executive, and we got him completely off the GLP-1 and to 12% body fat permanently. My name is Dr. Michael Diamonds. I'm a medical doctor, scientist, and pro-natural bodybuilder. Let's not waste time. Let's dive straight in. Sergio, a warm welcome. Just for the audience, tell us who you are, your age, where you're from, and also give us a brutally honest and genuine view of what a week in the life of Sergio looks like.
Well, thanks. My name's Sergio Gonzalez. I was born in Costa Rica. I had the opportunity to travel around, so I think I'm kind of a little citizen of the world. But I've spent most of my time here in Mexico, so I'm pretty Mexican, 47-year-old, 3 kids. I run a small business, but it's not what I've done for most of my life. I'm doing that since recently, and I'm a person who really likes challenges. You know, every week for me is getting up early, 5 or 6 times a week, getting stuff done before other people get around me. And I'm just very driven. I'm very harsh on myself. You know, I think like many people who do the kind of work that I do, you know, we want to excel in everything, and we take it out on ourselves when we don't. So that's kind of me, and every week I try to balance it out and try to be 1 millimeter ahead of where I was a week after, a week before.
Amen. And what time do you wake up? I'm curious.
4:30 a.m.
4:30, man. I know in the first call you had with us, you described yourself as the 1% person. This drive that you have as an individual, like where did that come from?
You know, I think I've gone through therapy and a lot of stuff. I really try to work on myself. So I think it comes from, you know, what you do with what's dealt, right? So whatever happens to you from when you're born to, you know, you go living, and how you confront challenges kind of makes you decide what you want to do. And I'm not saying that one thing is better than the other, but the way it worked out for me, it was just I was in environments and situations since I was a kid where probably this traveling around, this being displaced, not having long-term friendships because we moved a lot every couple of years, kind of make me look inside and say, hey, it's up to you, whatever happens, because the external part is going to change and change and change. So, because that was what I was living, right? So now even when things don't change, like I change them because I'm not content with being stable, right?
And how did that translate to your physique? I know that's what you came to us for.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I was quite a sporty guy, probably up to my early 20s. I used to practice martial arts, so I'm black belt in Taekwondo and karate, and I competed nationally here in Mexico up till I was 21, 22. And I became a teacher of Taekwondo because I really liked teaching a lot. And then when I got married, I'm not blaming it on the marriage, but when I got married, I just, you know, little by little started to let go. Priorities came up in life. My kids started to come in. I had to work my butt off to, you know, I was very young. I had 2 boys. I had 3 boys before I was 30. So I had to get my stuff done. And then I just let go of myself. I would say even beyond my physique, like focus was totally external. And in my late 30s, I kind of, you know, came full circle, and I said, hey, I need to keep on giving to my family and whatever commitments I've made. And there's not too much left. Like I really felt like I was scraping the bottom. So this realization of saying you have to actively fill it up. And the way I found out of that general sense was through exercise. So regaining that and going back to it and starting to feel good about myself, about progressing, looking better, feeling better. And then it comes to a point, which is when I come to you guys, 10 years after I started this turnaround, to say, okay, I know I can do it. I've done it, but I need it to stick because I want to do this or feel this way for the most part for the rest of my life, right? I said I was 47. My birthday was just last Friday. And I was telling my friends here at home, I think like I'm 3 years away from starting the last third. So I kind of want to make sure I get set up for success. And I think a 3-year plan to do that is pretty solid. So that's why I came to you guys.
I like that. And just for the audience, because a lot of people are in that beginning phase, share with us what was the heaviest weight you ever were and the weight you are today with us.
Well, the heaviest weight I ever was 113 kilograms.
Okay.
I believe it was something like 37 or 39% body fat. And last Friday, I clocked in at 78 kilos, I believe it was, and 12.4% body fat.
Incredible. And for everyone in the US, that's 248.6 pounds. And then 78 is going to give you 171.6. You're like half a human at this point. Like that's just displaced completely. That's incredible, man. That's incredible. And in your journey, Sergio, you described it, and I remember our first conversation, you're like, man, I need this thing to stick. Now, before like that conversation, describe to us what was going on that would keep you in this cycle. What did that cycle look like for you, where you would see results, then crash, then strive to get those results again? And you described it as a sprint, if I remember. You described it as a sprint.
Yeah, exactly. I had found, like, when I started to take control, as I said, like 10 years ago, I started to learn how my body reacts, right? So I focused on the exercise at the beginning, and then this is what happened to me. It took years to see the pattern. So I started to work out more. I started to run more. I started to do cardio, just cardio, and the weight started to come down. It came down 10 kilos. I was very happy with myself. I was running almost 10 kilometers every day, 6 days a week. On a treadmill. I shot one of my knees out. So I had a torn meniscus, and I had to get a surgery for that. And when I was coming out of surgery, I was so scared that I was gonna gain those 10 kilos or those 22 pounds back. So I did what I had never done. I'd never gone into a gym, ever. So I went into a gym with my cane because I was still in rehab. And someone caught me at the door. And this coach told me, how can I help you? And she said, look, I told her my story, and I'm really afraid, so I need to do something to keep the weight off. And she said, well, let's take it step by step. Have you ever considered strength training? And then I started to do strength training. I loved it. And I think that's when I got the most consistent, slow gains, slow weight loss. I started to look at my nutrition, then I started to modify it, then I started to measure it, like little by little, right? I started to, in my mind, understand how my body works. And then, time goes by, those habits didn't stick. I'd still do the exercise, but the nutrition would slip, or, travel would come in the way. I wasn't prepped to make it sustainable. So then I would spike. And then I'd have to do something again, and like really, but only on the physical side, only on the calories consumed side, right? For the most part. And then I injured myself again. So I was gonna run a marathon, and I was starting to run faster because I needed to run faster, and I wanted to lose the weight that I had already gained. And then I got another problem, And then another thing, the shoulder. So I would go up and down, and I would just overwork myself to the point where I would literally get injured. So this time I was coming out of a surgery for my shoulder, and that's when I said, I gotta stop this cycle, because I can't keep breaking different parts of my body, which I've done 3 already. So I need to stop this cycle, right?
You mentioned this cycle that you went through, this yo-yoing cycle, right? So there was that one thing that you mentioned after the shoulder surgery. This was where you said, you know what, I need to change things. But then what was that one thing that made you say, you know what, I need to reach out and I need to get the necessary help in order to break the cycle that I find myself in?
Well, the thing was, when I was in rehab for the shoulder, coming out of it, I said, I have to do something. And I turned to peptides, right? So I found a doctor. He told me I did have insulin resistance. Now, there was a factor here that this time I'm 47. The previous three times that I'd done it had been 30, 37, 40, 42, and this time it's 47. So I had tried to do what I had done before and it wasn't working anymore. So I had recognized that things had changed, right? So that's why I went to the peptide and GLP-1. And that the way I looked at it at the beginning is I need to try something different, and this will probably jumpstart it. But I was very afraid of it, and I would think that I would not, well, I'm not recommending it for anybody, but I would make sure that anyone who is considering it, make sure that they do it with the hand of a doctor, because it just helped me to get like in the mood, in the phase, in the understanding that things could change. And then I just wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible once the habits started to be consolidated. Because the fact of the matter, and I've seen it in other people, if you don't develop the habit, the minute you're off it, it's all over. It probably even worse. So I started to hear some online content. I won't say who, but he's on this call. And sometimes he would say, like, this is the natural GLP-1. This does the same effect as a peptide. And I was like, well, then why the hell am I using this? Probably there's a more natural way to do it. And I said, I remember I was on the call with Dr. Payan, and commercially, I'm actually really admire all the marketing and the way you guys commercialize your product, because I feel that there's a lot of intent in the whole process. And at that point, when I felt he was qualifying me, and I was like, hell, I need to prove myself to be elected to pay these guys, and it was kind of crazy, and I did it. And in the moment, I felt that he was pressuring me, but I said, something clicked inside myself, and I said, this is right. If you have to do it, you have to commit. And these are those moments turning points where one decision, which doesn't come along very often in your life, one decision, you can recognize that that's where things click. So when I was pushed to commit, I said, okay, am I going to do this? I'm going to do this full on.
Are you happy you made that decision?
Very happy. Yeah.
And I would say this to anyone watching this, and I want to talk about GLPs-1 here in a little bit. I'd like to describe all of us as human beings as this jar, and picture a jar full of marbles, right? These marbles are essentially characteristics or things that come together that form our identity, the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, our behaviors. And essentially what a GLP does is that it tries to put a band-aid over all these little marbles that aren't good in your jar internally. And essentially when you remove the band-aid, all the issues really come flowing out. The skill you're trying to do is remove the bad marbles. And this process with Sculpt by Science is we're removing the bad marbles, not just physically and through the things we put in your body, but mentally as well. And this is why I say the body will always follow the mind and not the other way around. The idea is to add these new marbles in you, right? The decisions you keep on making on a day-to-day basis, that makes this permanent finally. But on that point of GLP-1s, you came to us on it, right, Sergio? You're going through that process. What was going through your mind when you had signed up with us, and had you always had the intention of coming off of it? And is there a difference? You just mentioned that people said you looked good before, but now you look spectacular. How did the GLP and Sculpt by Science, that transition, play a role in that juxtaposition with your body?
Well, one, the side effects went away, which are not cool.
What were those side effects, if you could share?
Yeah, well, flatulence, for example, which makes it very uncomfortable, in different settings and whatnot. Also, a lot of, in general, digestive, I felt heavy, I felt burping, like really, really stuff that like you feel sick in some senses, right? Not terribly bad, but you don't feel good. Also, I would say, it didn't help me mentally. Like I knew it was a Band-Aid. So the minute every injection was like, the day I don't do it, what's going to happen? And as you said before, I'm not willing to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. So I don't say it's a bad thing. I say it's a tool that if someone uses it, you just really have to understand what's it going to do and what's it not going to do. Because you can use it and go back, or you can not use it and get to the same place or even a better place. It just depends what's what's the path you want to take forward. But I go back to something that I heard online, again, that you said, where it was, what I'm going to recommend is simple but difficult to do. And that kind of thing clicks within me. Like, I'm like, I want to try that. I want to try that. Because when you do difficult things, there are things that are difficult to do. That's when you've added a new skill, a new capability to yourself, right? Exactly. Even if the act is simple, but when you go through difficult situations, that's when you build and you put another Lego on yourself, right? So that's kind of what pulled me into it. Yeah.
Could you describe how you tapered off going through the program?
Well, actually, I started to, what the original plan was, and you start increasing the dose little by little to minimize the side effects. That's my understanding of how this works, to take you to a dose where you want to stay for a while and then come back down. I was still on the uptake, and I said, I don't want to do this. So we actually, with my previous doctor, we actually stopped it before it got to what the peak, halfway through the upslope, and then also shortened the time of stabilization, and then brought it down like super quick, because I want to get off this. I already started this, and I'm going to move on to this. My fear obviously was the minute I'm 100% off, even if I'm doing this stuff, this will just spike back up. And I think on the contrary, I think the 2 or 3 weeks after I got off it, like, inflammation came down and cloud, it's not mental cloudness because I didn't have that feel, but body stuffiness, that kind of went away, and the sick feeling went away, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but you just feel lighter. And it's not about the weight, but
I think the best way I could describe it, because you know how you only realize how important your health is that the moment you get a flu, you can still go along with life. Everything works fine. It's okay. But it's like, oh, I need to blow my nose. It's hard to breathe. It's just like you realize how important these basic functions of life are. And it can be distracting because you're thinking about it versus fully being present. I think another way to describe it is, when you hurt your ankle or you hurt your knee, you can walk normally, but every step you take, it's like a reminder and it's a distraction. Maybe you're thinking about texting your wife. You take a walk and you're like, that hurt. And you're like, hey, what was I supposed to do anyway? So it's a distractor. It's almost like someone's poking you the whole time and you're like, I can't get this thing off of me.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, Sergio, and just again on the GLP-1, right? A lot of people might not know exactly what its mechanism of action is, but for somebody who has experienced it and has used it, like, what is your understanding of what it actually does, and what does that experience have been for you?
So my understanding is it controlled cravings. It controlled my hunger, my feel for hunger, right? But so the only thing is, like, it's closing the intake, but the demand would still be there. The mental demand and the physical demand of whatever eating habits you had are not changing. The only thing you're doing is probably some way physically, reducing the urge to eat and the ability to, because even if I wanted to eat more, like, I just felt full of, in a bad way, right? Not in a satisfied way, but in a stuffed way. And even I wanted to eat and I was like, I can't. I'll probably throw up. I can't fill.
Essentially for the audience, and I've never been on a GLP-1, but just thinking of it, the two main things for the audience, what does the GLP-1 do? The main thing that it does is it's slowing down gastric emptying, and essentially the food moves through your system so much slower. That fullness feeling you have after a meal is almost there all the time. For a lot of people, mentally, they feel like a lot of the food noise goes away. And that food noise is described as, damn, a protein bar would be really nice now. And you'd eat that entire protein bar. And then you're like, I could go for a second. Actually, that second one was really good. I could go for a fourth, until you've just had 10 protein bars. That feeling of fullness that you feel all the time essentially erases that thought. And also, it's like if you've ever felt sick, you don't have an appetite. All of a sudden, you don't have an appetite, and people say, hey, you know what? I lost a lot of weight during that period. I would imagine that's what what someone who would go through Ozempic or Mounjaro or any form of GLP would feel. It does improve insulin sensitivity, so essentially how your body uses the food. But the big issue with a lot of people that experience this, and for the audience who's on Ozempic potentially, the tough part is that it shuts down all eating together, but with that, you cut your protein by half, if not even by a quarter of what you should really be eating. So you see weight loss, but a good portion of that weight loss is also muscle mass because you haven't given your body the building blocks necessary to maintain that muscle tissue. And I want to ask Sergio this, is that you went from looking good to spectacular. How do you feel the program helped you with that transition? What were the aspects of the program that you felt made it easier to transition off?
The first thing I think is understanding what was going on. And part of that I did by myself, in the sense of understanding and educating myself. What you said about these drugs slowing that process, I understood that was what was happening. And I would be concerned because I'd still have, when I was hungry, I wouldn't necessarily eat the right things. So I'd still be coming down, but I was eating stuff that wasn't actually, nurturing my body. So I knew that underlying issue. And I was like, yeah, cool. But the only fact that was kind of not crisis for me, because I was big. I'd been like bulking, not intentionally, but that's where I was before. So I had a lot to come off of, right? So I think that's, a characteristic where it worked for me. But when I started to come off it, I was in my head understanding how to do the same effect, maybe, but in a more natural sense, and where my body felt that this made sense, not just blocking the intake, right? Not a blockage, but more of a management of what's going on. And that felt smooth. That didn't feel sickness. So same effect in terms of controlling urges, but then I could eat satisfied until I felt satisfied, not until I felt full, right? That difference. I would even say there are also times since I've come off it where I have to eat because I just need to get to that protein target I want for the day. And I don't want to, I'm okay. I'll probably cut the carbs, cut the fats, and only take the protein just to get to the target for the day. But understanding, because I like stats. I like keeping things in record, and so looking at things and understanding how that equation, that formula works, and actually being able to manipulate it. I just find it fascinating, and me being what I'm manipulating.
You being the experiment. I'll just add for the audience, I talked about GLP and the mental side of it quietening your thought. A healthy practice the Japanese do, maybe you've heard of it or not, it's called Haraha Chibu. And this was actually a Confucian teaching that was taught in Okinawa, right? A region in Japan that has a high concentration of centenarians. People who lived 100 plus. And the simple thought is eat until 80% full. Sometimes just that mental consciousness of when you eat, you ask yourself, am I 80% full? It's almost like the thought of, have you ever noticed you'll eat food on a plane and it'll look really little? And you'll eat it and it's all you can eat, right? Because they're not going to bring you another round. And you eat the meal and about 20 minutes pass, you're like, actually, I'm good. I'll survive the rest of this 9-hour flight. I'll just have some sparkling water. So for everyone, this skill set, this marble or this Lego is consistently ask yourself, am I 80% full? And another thing that I would share with all of you that's very powerful, is just a skill, is after you've had a meal, give yourself 20 minutes before you go for another one. That's all you need. Just give yourself 20 minutes before you have another meal, and you will actually notice that you're satisfied and you're good. But I want to transition here to Dr. Kelsey, because I know he has a thought on this. I think to expand on this idea when it comes to nutrition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, thank you, Dr. Mike. And Sergio also, I just want to say that Sergio also did touch on the essence, of the program as well, which is the knowledge aspect, right? Imparting as much knowledge to whoever walks through our doors, so that they're able to do this long term, right? So Sergio, just on the nutrition, right? So when you first started, right, I remember I prescribed 2,400 calories, 200 grams of protein. And I remember on one specific call, this was in probably the first or the second week, you told me this is a lot of food, right? So being looking at that 2,400 calories and simultaneously being on a GLP-1, the first question is, how was that experience for you in terms of your hunger levels? And now coming off of the GLP-1, how have your hunger levels since changed?
Well, I think if anything, it accelerated my wanting to come off it. Because I'd look at the plan and I said, this is a good plan. This is a lot of food and it's healthy, and I can't eat it. I can't. I physically could not eat that amount of stuff because my system was slowed down artificially. So I recognized the plan on paper as being a very healthy thing to do, and I could not execute it physically. And I think that's when I told you I'm coming off of this. I'm telling my doctor I'm done and we're out. I'm not going to do this cycle anymore. And we had to take the calories down, right? My hunger went from being a dull thing, from being something that is an indicator. And now I recognize how to, if you will, use the hunger, understand what it means. Is it hunger? Is it water? Is it, did I not have my protein for XYZ reason, and maybe that's what's making me hungry right now, or have I not? So it kind of started that dullness went away, and now I could really feel what was going on. And at least that's how I understood it, how I felt it. I don't know if that's actually how it was, but that's the way I interpreted it, right? Like I could feel more of what my body was telling me, because you took that noise that actually was the Monjaro, dulling the senses.
Whenever anybody goes through this, even if you're not on Ozempic and you're considering finally making a final choice, I promise you will be fine if you eat just slightly under your maintenance. Let's say you calculated and you saw it was 3,000 is your maintenance and you're going to eat 2,500. I promise you won't get fat. Give it 4 weeks. You'll probably notice that you'll stick to a plan more likely. It's something you'll be able to do the rest of your life. So that's just the message I want to send. And the food essentially gives you clarity on what tools you have. And I love, Sergio, just hearing you is part of our job is to give you the education on the buttons in your car, right? And like, okay, cool, I need to hit this one so I can go a bit faster, which is your protein intake. Add some better tires. This is a car analogy. But for the audience, Sergio, you came to us through the video where I talk about foods that are natural Ozempic. Share with us, if you can, top of your head, what are the foods that you ate that made you feel full, that made you feel nourished? And this will give the audience an idea of like, okay, what food should I add in my meal plan?
Right. So, everyone hears about this one, right? Prioritize protein, right? So we need protein to build the muscle. Fine. And that's, I think, where most people would say, that's it. That's the reason. But the fact that it gets digested slower and generates that natural slowdown of the digestive system made a lot of sense to me. It's more complex to assimilate for the body. I don't know if that's the correct, medical word, but then it'll be slower. And then another thing, like you said, which wasn't the meal, but was the order in which I would eat it. Or put fiber, right? And the fiber will also kind of slow things down. So these were kind of the buttons that you're talking about, right? Take vinegar, 15, 20 minutes before, apple cider vinegar before, to control the insulin spike. So these things started to have an actual difference in time. I think the big fact is that, or the big difficulty here is that we're impatient, right? I'm very impatient. That kind of person that I described at the beginning, my people at work, they're like, I'm always driving them. I feel that like a necessity of part of my leadership, and it's part of how I am. So it's counterintuitive for me to think of do this patiently, because I'm usually always kind of driving.
Go.
So again, and you didn't ask this, but this is one of those transferable things for the rest of my life. Like, you don't always have to be full throttle, right? In fact, you might get something out of it if you kind of understand that there are other buttons. It's not always high.
Yeah.
It's not always intense.
The time to push and the time to pull. And Sergio, if you could, do you have like a grocery list that you'd give someone? Let's say they're in your shoes. What was like your grocery list? Maybe if you group in, hey, these were my proteins that I was having, these were my fibers that I was having, and these were my carbs, fats, if you could give us a grocery list of what you were having.
Well, it's quite simple because I do my shopping every Sunday, and I do my meal prep. So, I focus on the protein. I'll do either, meat, fish, and chicken. For me, chicken is kind of the easiest one. It's also the less interesting. But from a caloric intake, it gives us a good balance, right? In terms of protein and the amount of calories that it does. So I kind of work through those. I keep it simple. I repeat it, right? Because then I won't forget. Then I won't overstock.
So you eat the same every day?
No, I don't. Actually, at the beginning, I misunderstood the plan because it says day 1, day 2, day 3, day 5, right? So I was like, okay, this is Monday to Friday. What do I do Saturday and Sunday? And then, I found out that you could click, I'm going to do these 2 days more than once. And then, the app would give me the list. And I'm like, okay, so I choose which other 2 days. And then I started to look at the macros and I understood. It's just to give me, the only indication I was, don't change the meals through the days, right? Make sure that the day stays intact. So I understood why that was. And yeah, I could eat the same one throughout the week, but I'm a cooker. I like to cook anyway. So it was a lot of work if I had to do the 5-day, thing. So I understood at the end, it's about the macros at the end of how you built that menu for that day. So whatever you're doing, if it were, I think it's easier from an execution standpoint to eat the same thing. These are tasty things to do, tasty things to eat. So I don't get bored with it. And actually you start to like it because sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel like eating eggs today. I like the oats with the almond milk. Let's do that day. So usually when I wake up, I decide what's the menu I'm going to do. And then going back to your previous question, I had already bought whatever was common, or the protein or the fiber that I'm going to eat. That would be common regardless of what the day menu would be. And I could just pull it up. So every day I wake up and I decide what do I want to eat. I have 5 menu options, and then I just let that guide me through the rest of the day.
And I know the audience likes to essentially gain inspiration for meal plans or what they would eat. Could you, off the top of your head, give a day in the life of Sergio's diet, what that would look like? If you, maybe what you did yesterday or a day that you could recall for us?
So yesterday was whole egg and egg white. So I started with that, some sourdough bread. And that's kind of simple, but it's extremely filling. Like the way I make it is like in a Spanish tortilla without the potato, without the fat, just the turkey. And I don't even do turkey bacon because I think on the list it's turkey bacon. I do plain turkey. So I don't cheat, but I also try to get it a way to have some more lenience because there's always variability, right? And I have a very dynamic lifestyle. I might not be able to do everything 100%. So I try to generate some spaces for me because I know I might mess up or I might not be able to finish everything, right? So I did that. Then I prep my smoothie on the go. So I take that in my lunchbox. I walk into work with a lunchbox, like when I was a kid. And then I had my, I think yesterday was the garlic chicken pasta. And I changed the noodles for konjac. So I was generating another gap just in case. Just in case I need it in terms of carbs. And then I kind of pulled through for the end of the day because I didn't do my mid-afternoon or late afternoon prep. I didn't take that along with me. So I came back home and I think that was a rice cake with cottage cheese, which was very on the go. It's quick. I like that one. And then I closed out, I think it was with a poke bowl. Or no, sorry, it was salmon. Salmon with, one thing I do is I take out your taco shells because those aren't, that's too American for me. I use a simple corn tortilla.
So you see, you guys, you can break the rules a little bit.
A little bit. I say I'm a guy who likes to measure things and I like using technology. So, I see that in the app, I can swap things out as long as the macro kind of fits in space. And then I look at what the total, add up for the day makes sense. Then I just switch it out.
I'm so happy. And just for the audience, you'd heard a lot of the stuff Sergio said as the stuff that I mentioned in the videos, but A lot of the foods there have a purpose outside, obviously, just the macronutrients, but the fermented foods from the sourdough to the slow digesting casein and the rice cakes to the salmon, to the konjac noodle pasta, which sounds amazing. I need to see photos of these meals, Sergio. But thank you for sharing that with us.
And also, in addition, it's also tailored to serve the blood results as well, right? To optimize the blood work as well. So, Sergio, with your role, right, that you're currently having, at your company, there is quite a bit of travel. And recently, I mean, you also did, travel to Monterrey to go watch the World Cup. Sent me some awesome pictures, man. Stadium looked phenomenal, by the way. How did you go about making those travels work and not being in that structured environment, right?
I think the first part is think a little. Give it a minute. Just don't dive into it and I'll work it out. No. I had to think it through. And I said, like, for example, I went to 4 away games away from my house, right? I had to go travel to get to those. And then I did others here. And it's this ambience, that there's going to be beer and there's going to be snacks and food that are not necessarily, nutritious, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you're walking into this. So I decided beforehand, I'm not going to indulge in that, This is about what I wanted to go to the World Cup, but this was a mental conversation with myself, right? And again, it's simple in essence, but it's hard to do. It is hard to do. But then I said, I want to be that 1%. Yeah, 1% kind of person says no when everyone else says yes. So I actually went into these games and these situations like saying, this is not a test, but this is what you train for. This is where you prove to yourself how much I want it, how much I really am convinced about this process. Because if I don't do it, then I probably would have not passed the original filter because I was not ready for it. So that for me, I think everyone has to understand how your mind works, what drives yourself. That for me is a driver. You want me to do something, tell me that I can't, or tell me that it's hard. And I know that's how I react. I'm not saying I come out of them, winning all of them, but I said, this is when I can win, right? And I also practiced delayed reward. So I said, if I go through all of these 6 games that I'm going to, and I stick to my plan, I'm going to give myself something on my birthday. So when it was my birthday, I had a party here at home with my friends, and I didn't do that. I also prepped for that day. I fasted a little bit more. I took out some stuff in the morning, ate my protein before anyone got here, got to my protein target, and then I indulged with a little bit of stuff that was off the menu, right? Totally off the menu, was completely not worried about it. And then Saturday morning, back on it, 100%. So, and it worked out fine. No problem. You can do that.
I think this is so powerful because a lot of the people who come to us, Sergio, are always, hey, I have a holiday coming. I have a wedding. Oh, I'm traveling for this period of time. Or it's the World Cup. Now that you had gone through those 6 events, you clocked in at 12% body fat. Do you regret not indulging in those moments, or are you happier for making a different decision and choosing you?
Totally happy with what I did, and what the result is at the end, right? And even if the result wasn't so headline, because it is a headline for me, 12%.
It is a headline for us too.
It's a headline considering the situation that I was going through. I mean, I felt really proud of myself. On the contrary of saying, oh my God, you would have had a better time if you were drinking or if you were eating, I had a fabulous time. I didn't need the other stuff at all because it wasn't about that. Because if I do that, I can do that without going to the stadium, right?
Exactly.
So I was like, and I did that on Friday in a measured way, right? So I have no regrets about it at all. Like, not even a second thought.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful.
I think that sometimes you feel, I'm not a heavy drinker. I only drink on social events. Well, I'm going to social events, then I drink. That's a paradigm that you're imposing on yourself. Why is that true? It's because you decided that. It's not a fact, right? So the minute you click that in your head, it's like, I'll decide what I drink or what I eat or what I do. It's not because I'm there, I have to do it, right? And I didn't do it, and I didn't feel out of place, and no one, pointed me out. No problem.
You did the Berlin Marathon, right, Sergio?
I'm doing that in September, yeah.
Copy. And how much cardio were you actually doing right now and in training for that and preparing for that?
Right now, I'm doing 4 days a week. I'm doing a specific running plan. I used to do way more, actually. I was doing HIIT workouts, way more additional from my strength training. I think my workload, it'll come up as we get closer to the marathon, but my current workload is less than it was like beforehand. And I've come down and I feel better, right?
And just to touch on that point, Sergio, I think the biggest lesson that's coming through about the running is that you needed to slow down, right? And that's exactly what we did. And also then supplement the running, or more specifically the fat loss, with another tool, which is with steps, right? And you're getting 15,000 steps consistently, right? Every single day. So how would you say that 15,000 steps now is actually moving the needle as far as your weight loss, the fat loss is concerned?
I don't have the formula of what is getting more or less out of the whole result, but I can definitely tell you that the walking, I think, is at the center of a lot of this. I think it takes a lot of the credit, and I'll tell you why. I've been using a smartwatch for many years. I installed an app, the Pedometer Plus, and it actually pulled up my data from the past 8 years. So when I was looking at the year, which this is what I tell my people in my company, don't tell me what happened yesterday. Tell me the story of where are we trending, what's going on, and what are you doing? Not the picture of yesterday, because that's like one thing, right? Yeah, that's a snapshot. So when I zoomed out and I looked at the years, like the years that I had my best physique was the years that I had walked more, that I'd taken more steps in the whole year. So I could correlate the yo-yos with the walking. When the walking came down, I was definitely heavier, et cetera, right? When I started walking, so the minute I saw that, again, it's like the way I react. I was like, I gotta walk more. So when you said 15, I was at 16,500. When you said, okay, put it up, 500 more, I was at 18. I mean, I think I had a 30,000 day last week.
Wow.
Crazy.
Stud. What a stud.
Nice.
But Sergio, I want to switch gears here a little bit, because we're talking about running, we're talking about cardio, but what about recovery? Tell us a little bit about sleep. Was that a challenge for you going through this as a business owner as well? It's the tough one. Tell us a little about sleep.
Well, I knew that, I knew that recovery was important for muscle building and whatnot, and even for the training, right? But I definitely let go of that factor. I'd stopped looking at the tracking. When we started again with the plan, or when I started with the plan, I think it's been one of the most challenging things, and I still haven't, I can't say, I think we've put the thumb on the scale. But I think there's more that I need to do. Like, I don't get consistent 7 hours 2 days in a row, ever. I haven't yet. So I think there's more I need to do there, but I definitely see the difference. Like, when I do have 2 or 3 days where I feel I rested correctly, I'll see the scale go down 1 or 2 days after. Like, when you're kind of stuck, for me, it's water intake and sleep will probably be the things that I've seen more short-term affect my scale weight, right? If I'm not taking the correct amount of water, or I don't sleep correctly, usually, and again, it's not, as you guys say, it's not always about the scale, but it's definitely one of those buttons where I can see with clarity how recovery makes a difference. And again, the same thing, it's prep yourself for success. I don't know the number as Dr. Mike, sorry, but it was 10 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours in one, stop drinking caffeine, eat, 3 hours before, I don't remember, liquids 2 hours before, whatever. I know it because I do
This is why we haven't mastered it yet, Sergio. This must be Bible for you by now.
So I can't recite it, but I just do it. I know it now. It's just part of my, okay, it's 12. I'm done. No more coffee. That's it. It's 7 p.m. I'm done. No more water. And it's working. It makes sense to me first on paper when I read it, when I saw it, and then I go and implement it. The thing is, you have to stick with it for a few weeks to start seeing it, and then just integrate it into your regular, life.
And also there's a thing that changes in your body. It's called the fat coefficient, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially there is a metric you can track in your body that detects how much carbs versus fat ratio you're burning. And the more you sleep, the higher it goes to the fat ratio. Think of it like a speed dial that, okay, I'm burning fat. The more you sleep, the more that is on like the 1. So it's between 0 and 1, like half means you're 50-50, and then less than half means you're burning more carbs as a source of energy. So just a thought for the audience is sleep is really that important. It is everything. And I know this is what we're going to work with Sergio. I was chatting to him this weekend about it. We'll make strides to it. And also to a point for everyone watching this, you don't have to be perfect with your sleep to get to 12%. You need a concerted effort. It needs to be what you want. And I'm happy Sergio starts to see the correlation between good sleep and a new low weigh-in. Those things are directly correlated.
Yes, sir. Yes. And on that note, Sergio, I actually do want to give you your flowers. Actually, I was just scrolling back, looking at your sleep numbers from 12 weeks ago, and I saw 4-hour nights, 5-hour nights, and now you're getting at least, 6.5.
Progress.
7 hours, right? So there's definitely progress, right? So I mean, it's not all that bad. It's not all that bad, eh?
No, it's not all that bad.
Progress is being made. So, Sergio, and I know one thing that we previously spoke about, more particularly with sleep, is that you usually struggle to fall asleep, right? Like within that hour, within the hour. But yesterday, was it yesterday, on the group, you sent me a message as well where you slept pretty well and you dropped weight, right? So what do you think was that one thing that shifted where you were able to fall asleep pretty quickly within that hour and then have the results that you had the next morning?
I don't know exactly what happened that day, but I can definitely recognize it's all the things come together. And I think that's it. I recognize it's not the one thing. I did stop the caffeine intake at time, right? I did stop eating at time, and I did get into bed at time. I do use the glasses. Like, I don't know which one thing is actually working, but yeah. I put them all into the pot, and then the stew comes out when you put everything in, right?
I love that.
So and also the exercise, I recognize that also works to give me a sense of tiredness, in the sense that, okay, I need to rest. And the minute I get into bed, it's like, oh, finally, this feels good. And it's way easier to fall into sleep because of it, right? So also, I think for me specifically, is knowing that I have a plan and believing that it will work out reduces my anxiety. Because usually that's what would happen. I would get into bed and I would just lay there with my eyes open, looking into the darkness. And then, oh crap, it's been 5 minutes and I haven't fallen asleep. Oh, it's been 10. Oh, now it's 20 minutes and I still haven't. What's happening? So that was totally different to falling asleep. So just believing that I had done enough took away that anxiety, and that let me fall asleep. So again, it goes back to the awareness of listening to what your body is telling you and act to that. So when I start feeling that, if I do feel it, I make an intent of clearing my mind and saying, this is sleep time. You'll have time for that you're worrying about tomorrow. You've already done this, you've already done the other. Maybe wake up and kind of reset, which we talked about, right? Okay, you had done it and you couldn't fall asleep, then go out, maybe walk a little bit around my living room, and then go back to bed and, okay, let's try again. And it works, right?
The entire program, the sleep, the training, this whole process, how has that impacted your performance as a leader in your company, the mood, the energy with your wife and your family? How have you seen a change, if any? What change have you seen, if so?
So the changes, what you're asking is from within towards others. And one of the things personally for me, regardless of what relationship or what, part of my life we're talking about, that's how I feel that I'm taking advantage of the opportunity of living, of being a person, right? I like to give myself to others, and that's what makes me happy. And I've recognized that. And in this project that we're talking about, I give. I give by being there because people see these changes that you're asking about, right? Where I'm more energized, where my eyes are open, where I have a mental focus, increased mental focus, right? Where everyone looks at, I took my chair away at the office and I put my walking pad in, and I think I don't sit down ever at my desk. I have another conference room on the side, and when I have a meeting where I need to sit or when I want to sit, I move out. But people have told me, like, they come in for ask, I need you to sign this, and they come in and I'm walking and they're like, you make us all feel bad because it's 9 a.m. and you've been on that thing walking for 30 minutes and I'm stuffing myself with a burrito, and they can see me from the place where they sit, right? Or as I was saying, last week at my birthday party, my friends were like, what do I do? And then I became Dr. Mike Diamonds, and I was like, okay, I'll tell you, start walking.
Let's go.
Let's open your phone. How many steps are you doing on average? Like, okay, just do 1,000 next week, every single day, and then add another 500 and do it slowly. And then come back to me and we'll talk about what you're eating. And I'm like, I'm giving back, right? And I like that. So it affects everything because now I have more to give.
That's amazing. And Sergio, the main thing we hear from executives and founders who come through our doors is, I'd love to do this, but I genuinely don't have the time. If you heard it, what would you say to them?
You do have the time. You just decided to do something else. We've all got the same 24 hours. You decide where you spend them. The thing is that we have, and I don't blame anyone. I'm not finger pointing because I'm in the same space. I have to defend myself against that every day. You can't go into a place where you by default say this is how it is. It's not. It's because you let it be that way. And even if it is that way, like I said, like you go to the stadium and you can still go embed yourself and make a different decision. And as you said, I think that's very powerful. It's freedom. It's freedom to decide what you do with your life. And life is time. It's the only resource. This is very cliche, but it's so true. The only resource that we can't manage, we can manage it, but the only resource that we can't generate is time. We've got the time that we got. And then we don't know how much it is because we don't know when we won't be here. So it all falls into, what do you want to do with the time that you have? And you decide.
And that's so beautiful. I would also even say, to add that as a exec myself, is I truthfully believe that a physical transformation is the closest thing you're ever going to see to buying time. Let me explain. The two versions of you, if you were to walk on this pathway, and let's say you could kind of watch your life in those two different pathways, just the one who is healthier and doing all these decisions, very likely you have bought yourself more time, right? From from all these events that you're likely to deal with. So that's the one way I say that you buy time. The second way I say that you buy time through a transformation, in my experience, is that with all this energy you have back, like literally, if you think of gravity, right, it's just weight pulling you down towards the core of the earth, and you move through life slower. The moment you remove 20 to 30 pounds, you can move faster. Your brain can also think so much quicker. So the decisions that would usually take you 30 minutes or an hour, you can make in 10. And if you can stack those up over time, you've essentially bought time. Every minute has, 4x. The same even when you lose a pound of weight, there's a 4-fold decrease in pressure in your knees. And then the final one, physically, for everybody who has ever lost weight with us, it looks like they stepped in a time machine and they've gone back in years. They look so much younger. It's better than any surgery or anything you could have paid for, because it's natural. It looks like what it's supposed to look like. And there's all the stuff you can do now, but it just doesn't look as good as that when you go through the process normally. So that's why I say you actually buy time through this process. As you guys can tell, I get very passionate about this. But Sergio, final words is for somebody who's considering going through Sculpt by Science doors, what words would you leave to them? They've applied, or if they're thinking about applying, if they're thinking about when they're in that interview process with us, what words would you share with them?
Well, the first thing I think is everyone needs to, I think, consider it. If you feel like you want to do something about it, consider it. First thing I would say. Second thing is it's not easy, right? Which doesn't mean, oh, then don't do it because it's not easy. No, on the contrary. It's not easy, but you'll be better for doing it. And then the other thing I put, are you ready? And make sure that you're ready for this, because you need to have a positive effect, and the formula is there. I don't want to. I'm not saying that what you guys do isn't hard, and because or else anyone else would do it. I'm saying in terms of the program, but I would say that the knowledge is available. I mean, you guys even put your knowledge out there for free, right? So I could do every single thing that Dr. Kelsey tells me to do because the data is out there, the knowledge is out there, right? So I feel that what Sculpt by Science gave me, additional from organizing that knowledge and putting it in a way that it makes it easier for me to digest, and I don't have to go and put it together, which I don't have that expertise, obviously, but I think I could get it. For me, was the accountability with someone. First, someone is myself. So I have to be decided even before we have the call. Like, consider it. And if you're not decided, then don't do it. Do it when you're ready to commit. If you're not ready to commit, wait. Keep on looking at the knowledge until you're convinced that technical part, that this makes sense. It has to work. Now, am I ready to execute it?
Sergio, thank you so much. I'm so excited to continue having you through this whole process. For everyone watching the video, a big thank you to Sergio for being so open. And Sergio, you're an ambassador for us, and I'm so proud. And this, when we interview, this is like what we want, is we want someone to come on the other side and, you know, be a sculptor for us and say, hey, this is the truth. Dr. Kelsey, thank you for being an amazing head coach, and I'm blessed to have you on my team. For everybody here, Sergio, Kelsey, I want to wish you guys a great day ahead, and cheers, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.